Welcome to Siegeworks, a Napoleonic siege roll and write. In this solo wargame, you take on the role of a British commander, leading a siege against a fortified city. You'll dig trenches, set up artillery, bombard the walls, and launch daring assaults to break through. But time is against you. Can you capture the fortress before the siege is lifted? Let's jump into a playthrough. To win the siege, you must reduce either the defender tracker or the morale tracker to 0 by marking off all the boxes. This represents the collapse of the fortress, either through relentless bombardment or a decisive assault. Just as there are multiple ways to win the siege, there are also two key ways to lose: running out of time by marking all boxes on the timeline tracker, or losing all manpower on the manpower tracker through either events or unsuccessful assaults. If either of these happens, the siege fails, and the fortress holds out. Before we begin, we set up the battlefield. First, we place a die on the siege event table for future use, and next, we mark off the red circle labeled Start Here on the map. This signifies that the siege has begun and time is now against us. Each turn begins with the timeline phase. We mark off one box on the timeline tracker. The longer the siege drags on, the higher the risk of failure. If we don't break the fortress before time runs out, an enemy relief force arrives and we lose the game. Now we prepare our action pool. Our manpower determines how many actions we can take this turn. The red number above the active manpower box shows we have 5 action cubes available. These actions represent your orders. Do you dig trenches? Set up artillery? Bombard the walls? Every choice matters. Now it's time for the siege phase, where we allocate our action cubes to different siege actions. First, we focus on digging trenches, a crucial step in advancing toward the fortress. We place 3 action cubes here, the maximum allowed based on the number of available boxes. Next, we prepare our artillery batteries as quickly as possible. We assign 2 action cubes to this action, also hitting the limit for this turn. Now we resolve these actions one by one. We start with dig-in. Since we placed 3 cubes, we roll a D3 for each. We roll a 1, 3, and 4. Converted to D3 values, 1, 2, and 2, for a total of 5 points. Each trench circle costs 2 points, so we mark off 2 circles on the siege track, moving our lines forward. Step by step, we close in on the fortress. Now it's time to set up our artillery batteries. These can only be placed on the beige circles on the map. Once enough batteries are in position, we'll be able to bombard the fortress walls. We roll a D3 for each action cube assigned to this action. Unfortunately, we roll 2 1s. Since each battery requires 3 points to be placed, we don't have enough this turn and fail to set up any new batteries. We'll have to try again next round. With the siege phase complete, we now move to the event phase, where unexpected developments can disrupt even the best-laid plans. We roll a single die and consult the siege event table. The result is a 2, accurate fire. This means we must place a blue cube on both the bombardment and set up batteries actions. Each blue cube blocks a box, limiting how many action cubes we can allocate to these actions next turn. And with that, turn 1 comes to an end. It wasn't the strongest start to our siege. We failed to set up any artillery batteries, and our trench digging has been slow. But there's still time to turn things around. Hopefully, turn 2 brings better results. We begin once again with the timeline phase. We mark off the next box on the timeline, signaling the siege is dragging on. Next, we check our available action cubes for this turn by looking at the red number above the active box on the manpower tracker. It's still a 5, meaning we have plenty of actions to work with. We add 5 red cubes to our action pool below the game sheet. Ready to be allocated. Let's make this turn count. Now it's time to allocate our action cubes for the siege phase. We place 3 cubes on the dig-in action to continue advancing our trenches. Since the setup batteries action is partially blocked by the blue cube from last turn's event, we can only allocate 1 cube there. For our final action, we place 1 cube on guard lines, which allows us to station infantry to help defend against enemy sorties and potentially cancel some negative events. Now, we resolve our actions one by one, starting with dig in. Since we placed 3 cubes, we roll a d3 for each. The results are 2, 3, and 5. Converted to d3 values, that gives us 1, 2, and 3, for a total of 6 points. Not bad. With each trench circle costing 2 points, we can mark off 3 white circles on our siege track, slowly pushing our lines closer to the fortress. Next, we attempt to set up artillery batteries. Batteries can only be placed on the beige circles on the map, and once we've deployed enough, we can start bombarding the fortress walls. We've assigned 1 action cube, so we roll a d3 to see how successful we are. The roll gives us a 3, which converts to a 2 on the d3 scale. Unfortunately, each battery requires 3 points to be placed on the map, so our roll falls short this turn. It wasn't going to be easy with the enemy's accurate artillery salvos making life difficult, disrupting our trench work. It's another setback, but we'll have to stay focused and adapt. Now, onto the event phase, where we roll a d6 on the siege event table again to see what's in store. We roll a 4, which triggers the sally event, a counter-attack from the city walls. Luckily this turn, we use the guard lines action. With a large presence of infantry stationed along our siege lines, we can use this action to cancel out the event completely. A small victory, but every action counts. Now to start off the third turn, we once again mark off another box on the timeline. Oops, I almost forgot. To wrap up the last turn, we should have removed the blue cubes from the affected actions. This frees them up to maximum potential, allowing us to use them fully again this turn without any restrictions. Let's skip ahead a few turns to quickly show you how the bombardment and assault actions work. Now we're on turn 9, and as you can see, our trenches have advanced all the way to the fortress walls. We have set up mines on each wall section by placing orange cubes next to each section of walls, which can help us by exploding them during an assault action. We've also successfully breached some sections, marking off boxes at the top of the map. However, the siege has taken its toll. Our first casualties are marked on the manpower tracker. Because of this, our available actions per turn have now dropped to 4 instead of 5. This turn, our goal is to widen the wall breaches to make future assaults easier. And then, at last, launch an assault. To start turn 9, we begin with the timeline phase. Marking off another box on the timeline to track the passage of time. The siege has dragged on, and we're beginning to run out of time. Next, we prepare our action pool. Looking at the manpower tracker, our active box now shows a 4, meaning we only have 4 action cubes to work with this turn. As casualties mount, our ability to take decisive actions is shrinking. Now for the siege phase, we allocate our action cubes for the turn. We place 2 cubes on the bombardment action, aiming to widen the breaches in the fortress walls and make an assault more viable. With the defenses weakening, it's time to launch our first assault of the siege. We allocate 1 cube to the assault action. The right-hand section of the wall is still too strong, with no full columns of boxes marked off, making an attack there too risky. Instead, we will focus on the left-hand section, where 1 column has already been breached. If our bombardment is effective this turn, we should have a 2nd column breached, increasing our chances of a successful assault. For our final action cube, we assign it to the guard lines action. This will help secure our siege lines and protect against any potential sorties from the defenders during the event phase. With our forces prepared, it's time to resolve our actions and see if our strategy pays off. Now, we move on to the bombardment action, where we place 2 action cubes. We'll roll for each bombardment separately, starting with the first. Because we have 4 artillery batteries set up, represented by the beige circles marked off on the map, we get to roll 4 D3s for this attack. We select the left-hand wall section as our target, aiming to breach a 2nd column and make our upcoming assault more effective. We roll a 1, 5, 5, and 6. Converted to D3 values, that becomes 1, 7, 3, 3, and 3, for a total of 10 points. That's more than enough to match the 7-point requirement in the remaining wall section box. With that, we mark off the box. Another column is entirely breached. Now for our second bombardment action. This time, we'll target the right-hand wall section, which remains mostly intact. Once again, with 4 artillery batteries set up, we roll 4 D3s for this bombardment. We roll a 1, 3, 3, and 4, converted to D3 values. That gives us 1, 3, 3, and 4, 2, 2, and 2, for a total of 7 points. Unfortunately, this isn't enough to breach the 8-point box, which also features a defender icon. Breaching that would have allowed us to mark off a box on the defender tracker. But we do match the 7-point box just above a previously marked off box. With this, we complete an entire breached column in the right-hand wall section. Now, this section is also open for a potential assault. Now we finally attempt our first assault action of the siege. We target the left-hand wall section, as it has a major breach with 2 full columns marked off. This allows us to roll 2 dice for the assault. Additionally, we have a mine set up, represented by the orange cube next to the wall. We choose to detonate it, hoping to soften up the defenders and improve our chances. Exploding a mine during an assault action adds +1 to all assault dice rolled against that wall section. We roll 2 dice and get 2 1s. With the mine's bonus, they are increased to 2 2s. Despite the mine explosion, the assault fails miserably. The defenders hold firm, and we suffer 2 manpower losses, marking off 2 boxes on the manpower tracker. A costly failure. The heavy losses mean our available manpower has dwindled, and we must now operate with only 3 actions per turn instead of 4. However, not all hope is lost. The wall breaches continue to widen, and with another determined assault, we may still break through in the coming turns. To finish the turn, we roll on the siege event table once again. The result is a 3, enemy sally. The defenders attempt a counterattack against our siege lines. Fortunately, we had the foresight to allocate an action cube to guard lines. Our infantry stands ready, and the enemy sortie is repelled before it can do any damage. The event is cancelled. And with that, our playthrough comes to an end at turn 9. The siege has taken its toll. Our manpower is dwindling, and each action is more precious than ever. But despite setbacks, we've managed to breach the fortress walls in multiple places, setting the stage for a final assault. Had we continued, the next turns would have been decisive. With the breaches widened and artillery still pounding the defenses, a breakthrough was within reach. But the defenders remained formidable, and every decision would have mattered as we pressed forward. This playthrough showcased the ebb and flow of a siege, carefully digging trenches under fire, setting up artillery despite setbacks, and balancing bombardments with the risk of costly assaults. No siege is won in a day, and every action, every decision can mean the difference between victory and defeat. Will you fare better in your siege? The fortress stands defiant. The choice is yours. Do you have what it takes to bring it down?